Dramaturgy, episode Guillotine Cutter, a vampire, a half-vampire and a human. All three of these characters kill blood-sucking demons, one for work, one for emotion, and one for duty. And in this video, that is what we'll explore. If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing the bell, as I couldn't explain to you how much such a small action can do for this channel. Also, if you want to support me further, my book Gang Flow Justice is available on Amazon.com. Anyway, on with the video. People work for many reasons. They work for money in order to survive, they work out of passion, out of professionalism, or simply they work because there is nothing better for them to do. The three vampire hunters in Kizumonogatari act as brilliant vessels to explore the idea of work and the reasons people work. Dramaturgy works because it is his job and has no emotional reason for his work nor any sense of duty. He kills fellow vampires because that is his job. In the same way, Episode works because of his emotions. He hates vampires as he has been rejected from the vampire world and so seeks pleasure in killing them for his job. There is no sense of duty to his work, he does it because he enjoys it. And lastly, Guillotine Cutter completes his work out of duty, out of a religious belief that oddities cannot exist, so to uphold his religious beliefs and to fulfill his duty, he must kill vampires so that they cannot exist. In brief, the three all complete the same job, for differing reasons, for work, emotions and duty. Dramaturgy is the most simple-minded of the three. His motives are not ones fueled by emotion, beliefs, resentment or duty. He works because it is his job. It's that cut and dry. Now this is speculation on my part, but I believe that a possible reason for why he became a vampire hunter was due to the simple fact that he was once human. When he was bitten and turned into a thrall, Dramaturgy would have forfeited his humanity and his life as a human. He would have no place left among the humans. Dramaturgy as presented in the series is a very calm man, not one to give in to his vampiric desires. He doesn't kill and feed on innocent people. In fact, he only eats those people designated as death row criminals by Guillotine Cutter and his church. So when he became a vampire, what was he to do? He couldn't return to human society, but he wasn't going to become a bloodsucker either. Instead, he did the one thing he could do. He became a vampire who kills their own kin, as it was the one place in the world he had left. It was a job he could do, he, a vampire, could do, so he did it. He did the job he was best suited for. There is nothing more to it than that. He just needed a job and found one he could do. As he tells Araragi, it's a hard time finding honest work the way the two of them are, in other words, as vampires. Dramaturgy works alongside 53 other vampires, each one a kin slayer, as what other jobs are there for vampires who seek to work? In the short story Soshite, translated as And Then, Dramaturgy meets Araragi almost exactly a year after their first bout. And much like back then when they fought in Kizumonogatari, he once more asks Araragi if he wishes to join him as a fellow vampire hunter. However, Araragi declines and says that he doesn't want to because he has a future. In other words, Araragi believes he can still change and find new avenues in life, something which he believes Dramaturgy can't. As Dramaturgy is past the point of no return, he is a vampire who kills his own kin. It's his job, but it's not like he gave up on his future like Araragi made it sound. Instead, he has already met his future, as his future is to work as a vampire hunter. It's that simple. Araragi didn't want to join him as he believed in his own future beyond that of oddities and of violence of making enemies, but Dramaturgy, who was turned into a thrall without any way to turn back, has no future left as a human, so instead makes do with what he has, and so found a new future as a kinslaying vampire. All that said, Dramaturgy still has principles, as he says himself, "Though I am a vampire that kills his own kind, it's not something I've ever been ashamed of. It's not my job to become the enemy of demons or humans. If anything, I believe it's to become their ally, helping both demons and humans." He may say that he just works as it's his job, but there is still a little duty to his work, a duty to both his vampire life and his past life as a human, and his desire to help them both is in a way also emotional. So at the end of the day, maybe the reason we work isn't as cut and dry as it just being work, or just being for emotions, or just being for duty. Episode works out of emotion, in specific his hatred for vampires. He is a half-vampire, the offspring of a human and a vampire. As such, he was an outcast in both worlds as a human and a vampire. He is much like Araragi in a way, a midpoint between the two worlds, a lonely midpoint. Now, he isn't a mocker of a human, nor a vampire like Araragi or Shinobu, but he is still isolated from both worlds. As a half-vampire, he lacks all the weaknesses of a vampire like a human, and has the powers of a vampire, but to a lesser extent. He has a foot in both worlds, but neither want him. Dramaturgy may have been human, but when he was bitten and turned into a thrall, he accepted his new life as a vampire and took up a profession with that in account. Episode though is neither human nor vampire, so we cannot simply choose to live in one world or the other. So because of this he takes his anger out on the world that won't accept him. That is why he kills vampires, as he hates them for not letting him live in their world, for treating him as an outcast. And that is why he cares not if he kills humans, as he is an outcast in their world too. He has no allegiance to either side, and is fine with either dying at the end of his cross. Even after almost killing Hanekawa, he claims it was fair play, as Hanekawa was helping Araragi and so was making their match not even. He saw Hanekawa's life and death as nothing more than an advantage and disadvantage in a fight. Though when they do meet again in Monogatari Shiro, he at least sees having almost killed Hanekawa to be somewhat equal to answering one of her questions, showing he has at least a little compassion in him, and that he can separate his hate from his actions. After all, he's a freelance vampire hunter, a merc for personal gain. If the money is right and he gets to kill a vampire for his own self-interest, for his own emotional reasons, he is fair game. It doesn't need to be a proper job or something dictated by duty. If it works, if there's money and he gets to express his self-interest, he is game. He calls vampires like Araragi monsters, as he does truly despise them. People will do a lot for emotions, a lot for love, but also a lot for hate. And that's why episode works out of a sense of emotion, to do what he wants and follow his emotions, and to kill vampires, the source of his emotions, or his hate. Guillotine Cutter, a man who works out of a sense of duty and faith. He is said by Kizumonogatari, Acelora and Heart Under Blader to be the most dangerous of the three, and when it comes to taking his job seriously, he is number one. He will stop at nothing to fulfill his job, his mission of eradicating vampires and other oddities that should not exist in the world. Guillotine Cutter is the shadow team leader of the Black Squad belonging to the Dark No. 4 group of secret operations. In simple terms, he is the leader of a new religion, one with little history. He acts as both the archbishop of the religion, but also as the leader of their Spec Ops unit. According to the religion's teachings, oddities do not exist. So in order to follow his faith and uphold his religious teachings, Guillotine Cutter must make it so that no oddities exist. And how does he achieve this? Well, by killing them. He kills vampires as his religion says they should not exist. What he does is in the name of his religion. It's his duty to make those things that don't exist, not exist. Unlike Dramaturgy, who works because it's his job, or Episode, who works for emotions, Guillotine Cutter works for no other reason than that it is his duty, as Archbishop, to uphold his teachings. No matter what, he must uphold his duty. If it means upholding his duty, he will even work alongside those beings which he has sworn to exterminate. He isn't driven by any personal desires, he is fully committed to his teachings to the point even his life is second to his mission. Best shown in the short story, Hito Toshite, translated as a Human. This short story tells of Guillotine Cutter moments before his death at the hands of Kizumonogatari, Acelora and Heart Under Blader, and gives a lot of insight into his commitment. As funny enough, he allowed himself to be eaten. Well, that's a bit misleading. He came to the Cram Scroll to exterminate a demon, though he had two methods. One was to fight and kill Kizumonogatari, Acelora and Heart Under Blader, a bleak prospect at best, and two was to be killed by Kizumonogatari, Acelora and Heart Under Blader, prompting Araragi to kill her and turn back into a human, effectively eliminating two demons. He went there with his death as a very real possibility, and bargained and talked with the very being he had sworn to exterminate, as he can be level-headed if it means upholding his duty, and he can make a plan with a demon if it means making said demon disappear. Even if he died, he would still achieve his mission for his death and uphold his duty to kill oddities so that they cannot exist. As his work is his life, and his life is his duty, there is not anything Guillotine Cutter won't do for his duty. He will take a hostage or two, he will work with vampires, and he will give up his life. Out of the three, I think Guillotine Cutter has the most resolve and is committed to his work the most. His duty therefore surpasses Dramaturgy's work ethic or Episode's emotions, at least in terms of drive, as Guillotine Cutter is the perfect example of someone so committed to their duty and to their creed that nothing else compares. So in a way, despite being the most dangerous of the trio, and being the only one to play dirty and take hostages, Guillotine Cutter is also the most selfless, able to give up his own life for something bigger than himself, for his duty. As his duty is bigger than anything else, as it's the teachings of his religion, his own words, the words of God, as Guillotine Cutter believes he is God. In the short story Kokoro Shite, translated as With Caution, we get to see the trio just after their initial fight with Kizumonogatari, Acelora and Heart Under Blader, and get an interesting new perspective on the three concerning their mindsets. As the short story says, Episode was optimistic, Dramaturgy was pessimistic, and Guillotine Cutter was objective. Due to their differing attitudes to work, they have differing mindsets. Dramaturgy does the job as it's his job. He thinks about nothing but doing the job most effectively, and so thinks pessimistically as he is trying to best complete his job without issue. Episode is optimistic as he works for emotions. He kills and he wants to kill, to punish those vampires, those monsters he cares not for. When doing something for emotions and pleasure then, there is no reason to be pessimistic. In Guillotine Cutter, a man of faith is objective as he believes himself to be God, and God should be fair and objective, not swayed by emotions. He's guided only by beliefs. As Guillotine Cutter says in this story, he would willingly sacrifice the weakest member of the team to ensure success, as objectively that would bring the best results. Dramaturgy, being pessimistic, says he's willing to be sacrificed for success. And Episode, the optimist, says that no one had to die as they already beat her. Contrasting mindsets and contrasting outlooks on work, those things really define the vampire hunting trio. This next section will be covering the Tsubasa sleeping arc from Wase Monogatari, so if you are anime only, I will ask you to skip ahead to this time here. Tsubasa Sleeping from the Monogatari off-season is a story about Hanekawa finding Oshino in Antarctica and retelling her own tale of how she came to work with Dramaturgy overseas. The story doesn't tell much more about Dramaturgy, but I thought it was only fair to quickly mention what it does say in this section of the video. From this arc we get to learn more about Dramaturgy's work ethic and his mindset concerning work, the big one being he doesn't do things for free. In order to give Hanekawa the information she needed, she had to work with him. A fair trade as he is a fair man. In the same way though, he considers risks versus rewards to be fair as well, using Hanekawa's live bait to draw out the vampire twins, high waist and low rise, as it was worth the risk to find the two, in other words, the reward. He's a methodical man at the end of the day. He won't do things for free or out of the goodness of his heart, but he will strike a deal and weigh up the situation in a logical manner, even if he tends to lean on the more pessimistic side. Overall, all three of the vampire hunting trio are workers each motivated by differing things. They work as it is work, they work for emotions, and they work for duty. Considering people spend a third of their lives working, it makes sense that most people have a reason to work, as they need one. You need to convince yourself that a third of your life isn't being wasted. And some do that through seeing their work as important work. Some do so by using emotions to fuel their work. And some don't see it as work but merely as duty. And some have another reason altogether. As we all have to work. The important part though is why we do. Comment of the week comes from Suhar Pal, and I must agree, the toilet paper scene is hilarious. If you have any opinions on the Vampire Hunter trio or Monogatari as a whole, then tell me in the comment section down below. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, then again the comment section is funny enough down below. Also don't forget to check out my Twitter at SethTheSin for channel updates and just general chatter, and my DMs are always open if you want to chat to me directly. Also if you want to support me further, then check out my book Gang Fluid Justice at Amazon.com. So with all that said and done, I have been SethTheSin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I am signing out. Stay safe, everyone.